Welcome everybody, Steve here. Today we're going to continue on Project Gray. I'm going to be painting up some miscellaneous engine pieces as well as some box cross members, and they're just going to be a semi-gloss black. And once we're done that, it's time to start working on the front fenders. These are the little cover plates that go at the bottom of the cab, and a couple pinholes. So what I did, I'm going to give this a try. I've just put a piece of brass in behind, and you can kind of see where the pinhole is. And I'm just going to weld her up, see if she works. They're in pretty good shape, so there's no need building a new one. Wow, that worked like magic. It's really good. Spot right there. Nice and flat on the back. That looks really, really good. Maybe a couple more deeper pits down here. I'm going to do that as well. Alright, I'm all set up to do some spraying. Now, on these little jobs, I decided I've got my camera all taped up in plastic so that you guys can have as much fun as I am. Well, almost as much fun. Anyway, gonna get the fan going here, set up, and we'll start spraying. Well, it's been a couple days and paint is all set up, and I'm ready to just kind of store this stuff away in a corner somewhere. But you know, this paint, when it's all said and done, it looks like powder coat almost. I really, really like the finish. There's the shroud there. Just trying to get it in focus for you. It really, really looks good. So if you're new to the channel, haven't subscribed yet, this is what I'm using. When I'm painting black, I'm using a Cloverdale Duraprime epoxy primer, and the English side's kind of a little too much on there. Anyway, noir means black. And I also have gray, and also have you know, this reddish red oxide. And then I'm using the Armor Shield, and that's an 847 semi-gloss black. This is a two-part thing. Works really, really good. And I'm very, very happy. We're happy with how durable this is. And like I was just bragging, it almost looks like it's powder coated when it's all set up and done. So there you have it. If you're wondering, this is what I'm using. Time to start working on the fenders. Now, these fenders aren't real. And when you buy a fake fender, you know, they're not going to fit. They're not perfect by any means. For some reason, the passenger one seems to fit a lot better. But it has some issues. And along the back, where it fits up against the cab, you know, we got gaps. We're too tight, so I'm going to repair that. And up at the front, you know, it dips down a little too fast, so going to repair that. Now, I don't want these to look rookie. You know, we put a lot of work into this truck, and I just don't want to slam one of these on and try and fill a gap up with some fender welting or anything like that. We're going to make these look good. So, the most part, they look like a fender. It's just how they fit is what you've got to really struggle with. And yeah, don't think that you're going to buy a fender and just put it on and expect it to be perfect. You're going to have to put a little bit of work into it. I'll show you some of these other little issues here. This is the front of the fender here, and I think you can see it pretty good in the camera. They hammered it pretty hard with the spot welder, and that really doesn't look good at all. There's a big slam dent in here. So we're going to repair this, hammer some of this stuff down, make it look a little bit better. Even though you really don't see it too much, you will if you look. And this down here is good. I don't have a problem with that. But right here. So we'll repair that as well. So I brought this corner up here a good 1/8 of an inch. And as soon as I cut it, it kind of sprung out anyway. So I don't want to go much further than that because then we start losing the contour. I got to put a lot more filler in here. You're just going to have to live with it. And it's going to be close. Close enough that your eye isn't going to catch it. And that's the big thing. If you're really intent on making these things fit absolutely perfect, you know, you do have a lot of work involved. But if your front fender's hooped, you haven't got a choice. So weld that up. Well, we're done with all the noisy stuff. Got everything ground out. Now be careful. You know, this stuff is a lot thinner than what your original one is, so you got to be careful when you're grinding. And I've got it all prepped up now, and I can go put some filler on here. I put a piece of tape right along here. When you're doing these 56s, it's nice because then you don't have to get in there and clean that all up. It's looking good. The bodywork shouldn't be too bad on this. Of course, you get started and you've already got some on your hands. I don't want to do that. Now we've lifted this up, so now we got to kind of feather it all back in. You know what, you could, if you were to use some fiber reinforced filler, you probably could have just built that up instead of welding it. You know, if you're in a pinch, you got to do that. Still prefer welding it. I think that's a responsible thing to do. The bodywork's come along here really good, and I'll put a coat of 2-part putty on there yet, but you can see we got high spots, low spots, high spot, low spot, and you know your eye didn't pick that up. So if you're a real high-ender, you know, you would probably skim this whole fender with some filler. And you'd be surprised at how much filler you got left on your fender. But right now in my shop, that doesn't happen. These fenders are going to be just fine and dandy. Someday. We got the bodywork roughed out on both fenders. Like the one fender only had the front to do. Now I'm just going to give it a light sand with 80 grit, and I've done this fender already just to see what it was going to look like, and there are some spots where I'm going to have to add some filler to it. So I want to do the same thing to this fender. I don't want any surprises after I get it all primed. There are going to be some surprises. There might be a couple tiny little dents here and there that you just don't pick up, but that's okay. So I'm going to give this a bit of a light sand, and then we can just find out how far we have to go with our putty. So right in here, just a little wobbly. So we're gonna have to put a little bit of filler in here, probably up to about here. I think you're gonna see that if we painted it. So we'll put just a little bit of, we can put some our putty in here, our glaze putty. And I think that'll look after all that. So when we're doing all the front, we'll hit this as well. So I'm just going to give this a light stroke with 40 grit. I don't want to do all my final sanding until I'm ready to prime. That way it can't get contaminated, and even all this stuff I'll go over it with sander again, just in case there's some oxidization. So we're just going to give it a rough one, and then we're going to put the fenders away until we're ready to prime. Well, it's an absolute wonderful wintry day. We had a real neat fog, so we got some hoarfrost. It's actually kind of gone now, but it's still there. You can still see it. Anyway, working on these fenders. Now, we want to make sure that the underside is all done right. We're going to put a couple coats of epoxy primer on there, then we're going to put our rubberized undercoat. Now, in order for you to do that, this has to be sanded. Now, I could spend some quality time just sanding, taking my time, probably end up cutting myself right there. Not worth it. All I'm going to do is take the sandblaster, give it a nice little mist, and it may actually do an even better job. So that's what I'm going to do. And so I got 2 fenders to do. The back ones, I haven't got started on them, but they're coming. But I want to get these ones done today because it's such a nice day. So let me get set up, we'll get sandblasted.